Spectre Divide just had its second major patch this week, and it seems like so far we're getting a new update every Tuesday. It seems like that's been pretty consistent, and hopefully it'll stay consistent going forward. Good on the devs for working hard and trying to make the game the best that it can be. So what changed? Well, for starters, I didn't have a chance to make a video last week, and I missed some of last week's changes, but I'm going to include some of the major ones in this video. One of the major things that we received recently is we got ranked early. It has now been out for just about a week, and not only that, they reduced the requirements, only needing 5 casual wins before being able to play a ranked game. Thank goodness, 15 was way too much. It also looks like progression systems were made easier, so you can unlock things like sponsors and skins more easily, which is huge because we definitely need access to all the current available sponsors to keep things interesting. Custom matches are now available to play by yourself to practice lineups and learn maps. Performance updates were made to help prevent some people that were always crashing, so that's good news. But now, let's focus on this week's updates. Something that's pretty interesting right here front and center, the game is going to feel a little bit faster than we're used to. They've actually decided that they're going to increase the movement speed for all weapons. This is going to apply to running, walking, crouching, and ADS, so everything is going to be a bit quicker than we've been used to, and hopefully this will make rotating a bit easier as it won't take as long to cross the map, and make it easier for things like CTs to defuse after the bomb has been planted. This is something that I find super interesting, as I thought the pacing of the game was sometimes slow, but for the most part, I didn't have any issues with it. However, it does seem that the rest of the community is having some difficulty with some of the movement. So this is just going to make things feel even quicker as you're moving around, jumping around walls, ADSing, and moving across the map. It'll all feel a little bit quicker than it has been. I think it's a good change. We'll have to see how it plays out in game. Even more performance optimization and visual effects were updated this week, and they even went and did a pass across all sponsor abilities. I know for a fact that when a lot of sponsors that had smokes out on the map, it would cause quite a bit of lag for some players. I experienced this a couple of times in my games. A couple of my friends would have some serious lag spikes whenever a lot of smokes would go down. I think the visual effects that were going on the map all at the same time was causing them to have some connectivity issues and losing bad frame rate. So hopefully this will fix some of that so that in those key moments of the game, they're not interrupted by poor performance. Something else that's a pretty major change for this patch is that there was a slight adjustment to the color grading on all maps. I guess a lot of people were saying that a lot of the maps looked very dull in color and they didn't have very much life to them. So I guess they're trying to bring some of that life back by bringing in a little bit of the vibrance to some of the areas. As you can see on screen, there's quite a significant change in the vibrance of the color. Hopefully this is not going to introduce any distractions. I thought the dullness in the maps kind of helped it a little bit easier to see, as the outlines of the enemies stood out much better against the duller colors on the map. But if people want to see better colors, I guess that's up to them. We'll have to see how this plays out in the gameplay. It looks like they did add a new mode for casual. It has an adjustment to the economy with boosted bias, so this will hopefully make casual matches feel a little bit more fun and less one-sided whenever you get put against a pretty good or well-practiced team. I think casual, keeping that very fun and more inviting to newer players, is a good decision. It does look like Mountaintop has been actively trying to make changes based on player feedback, and the following are directly in response to the players, which is great to see. Ultra-wide support is now available for those that run those big ol' wide boys. Anti-aliasing settings are now available, which is much needed, as every game has this nowadays, and I don't understand why that wasn't already in the game, but now we've got it. Something that's going to make the game feel a little bit different than we're used to, in addition to the movement changes, is that the standing player height was changed. So now that when you're aiming, it's going to be level with the ground. This is, in my best way of explaining this to you, it seems as though they've moved the camera up a little bit, as it before was probably somewhere in the neck area. It is now going to be more closer to inside of the head. To help further describe this, sometimes sometimes when you would be moving around the map and you would get close to an opponent, sometimes you would have to aim slightly up in order to get to headshot level. This change that they have added will now make things feel a little bit more level across the board. So if you are looking straight ahead and at the center of your screen, you should be aiming at headshot level and more consistently be able to hit their heads. This was something that I think is an absolutely good change, because it did feel a little bit awkward sometimes, because depending on how far someone was away from you, sometimes you would have to aim slightly up, or if they were really close to you, you would have to aim even more significantly up. It was a little bit difficult to try to shoot people when they were right up on you. This will help rectify some of that and keep it a little bit more consistent no matter how far somebody is close or away from you. As part of these changes, you will notice that you will appear to be a little bit taller in game, so that might be a little bit disorienting for your first few matches, but I'm sure everybody will get used to the new camera height changes very quickly. Audio stingers were also added for clutch and ace situations, so hopefully these will make them feel a little bit more special when you do pull them off. New servers were added for Seattle and Johannesburg, so that's great for you guys that live in those areas. Anti-cheat was updated. Yes, unfortunately, as expected with a free game, there's going to be a few cheaters. I have only come across maybe one blatant cheater so far in my time being played, which is pretty good. So hopefully Mountaintop stays ahead of those cheaters. Obviously, it's never fun when you're trying to rank and they ruin your games for you. More optimization improvements to stop people from randomly disconnecting. This does happen from time to time. I have had teammates that have had this happen to them. It's really unfortunate, and it really just kills the vibe of rounds. Hopefully they'll figure out what is causing these issues and continue to correct them as they discover what is causing the problems. Changes to improve joining up in parties. Some people have been getting unable to join party errors. Something that does feel a little bit unnecessary is that we are getting a bit of a change to the maps, but it's not exactly a change to the map. They're actually changing the spawn points so that we're closer to our other Spectre. I don't know what brought this on, as honestly, I felt like in most maps we're pretty close to them anyway, and most of the time you're just teleporting to wherever you want to go at the start of the round, so I don't really understand what the reasoning for this was, but okay, I guess. That brings us to quality of life updates. Special character keybinds now show the symbols instead of words. They re-enabled the expanding search information while you're looking for a match. This is actually kind of nice, as it gives some sort of indication that matchmaking is actually still working and is doing something when you have some of those longer queues. The lever penalty warning dialogue no longer shows when you try to quit the match after it's finished. Frame rate limit maximum increased from 400 to 480 to support 480 Hz monitors. I'd be surprised if anybody is even getting close to 480 FPS in this game. I'm not trying to say that it is poorly optimized, but I'll be honest with you, I'm only able to get around 200 or so any given moment. So if you're getting 480 frames a second in this game, that's pretty insane. Hopefully we'll get to that point, but right now I don't think anybody's going to hit that anyway. But if you have one of those monitors, at least you can choose that in your options now. The surrender button is now available at all times in casual. That's kind of nice, because sometimes people leave very early on, so hopefully you'll be able to leave the match. Unfortunately, this may negatively impact some games, as people are just going to constantly surrender all the time. So we'll have to see if that affects gameplay wise for new players. Stat graphs are going to take up less space on the screen if you have those enabled. I usually only have FPS enabled. I haven't really use the stat graphs, but hopefully this will make it to where if you like those, they aren't going to take as much of the screen up, so that's pretty good. Career and battle pass tabs were removed from the main menu. This was actually a pretty smart move. We've already been told that these are still in the works and won't be coming for quite some time. It is probably better that they just remove them for now, as the lock icons up there made it seem as though they were coming in probably a pretty soon patch, but we already know that that's not the case. I do really want to see career as soon as possible though, as I do want to know my stats on certain maps and kind of gauge how I'm doing overall with, you know, some sort of headshot percentage, as well as, you know, maybe my KDA. Honestly, I feel like it's pretty good, but really all I have to go off of is my memory of my match history, as well as what my rank is. So that's not a lot. Tell me like what maps I'm struggling in and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll get some sort of career information pretty soon. I always feel like the more information that you know, the better you can get at the game. So hopefully hopefully we'll see that, you know, within the next couple of months. Mountaintop, I highly suggest you get on that as soon as possible. For now, as I said, I'm gonna have to rely on my rank to see how I'm doing. And speaking of ranked, we actually did get ranked progression updates. Adjustments were made to make the rank climb feel much smoother, and I actually was able to play the first weekend that ranked was out, and I landed around Emerald 1-ish, 2-ish. I haven't really been able to play much since, and I've been pretty busy, so I definitely think that I'll be able to progress even more quickly, as I'm still winning the majority of my games after having ranked, and I think that maybe even I'll push for champion. I think it's possibly doable in this game. I think that I'm definitely better than Emerald, as a lot of my games have felt pretty easy, although I think with it still being fairly early on in the ranked season, I think a lot of people are still trying to get placed, so it seems like you're either stomping the other team or you're getting stomped. So as that goes on and as the season goes on, hopefully that'll settle down and we can get a more accurate showing of where we actually stand. Something that is pretty nice is they're now showing the progression of your active endorsement on the main menu, so you know which sponsor you're actively unlocking. This is super helpful. It also looks like there was tons of bug fixes that were taken care of. If you want to look through all the bug fixes, I'll have a link to the patch notes in the description below. And while you're down there, if you could just drop me a like on the video, that would be great. And at the very bottom here, Mountaintop is showing some of the transparency and showing us that some of the bugs haven't been fixed that they are aware of. It looks like they are noting these down and are actively working on these, so that hopefully they should be fixed in upcoming patches. I'm super excited to see how the game evolves, and the game is getting even better with each patch. I look forward to see what we're going to get in the upcoming weeks. So if you want to see more Spectre Divide content, make sure to subscribe. How do you guys feel about the recent patches? What do you guys feel about the new map commons? And how about these color changes to the maps? What about the movement speed increase? Do you think that it changes things? Does the game feel a little bit faster? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know down in the comments. Also, what did everybody rank? If you're playing ranked, I'd love to know where you placed. Let me know how your ranked progression is going. Good luck in your games, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.